Can I be honest? My creative business has been sprinkled with more oops moments than I care to admit. These mistakes have cost me time, money because I left thousands of dollars on the table, but most importantly, it cost me my health because of all the burnout cycles that ensued. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Because if there's anything that I've learned in my nearly 8 years of being a full time artist and business owner, is that a misstep only becomes a mistake if you don't learn from it. Otherwise, mistakes are just critical data. Data that tells you where to shift, data that tells you what to fix, and data that sets you up for inevitable success. So, today I'm spilling the chai on my top 5 creative business oops moments, what I learned from them, and what I would do differently if I could hit rewind. Oh, and number 4 is a real doozy. So, if you've ever felt like you're spinning your wheels in your business, or you feel like one wrong move might tank your business entirely, then this video is going to be your shortcut to clarity. And you'll see that mistakes don't need to break you. And in fact, those are the very same things that are going to make you really good at what you do. Just like I have become the best business strategies for creative small business owners because of these very same mistakes that I've made, and also obviously the more than $90,000 that I've invested in learning from them and rectifying them. Mistake number 1 was not starting my email list sooner, and this has just been like my biggest facepalm moment in my business, because for the first 2.5 years, I just spent my entire time building my Instagram. Because if you don't know my story, I'm actually an Instagram born artist, because I started my Instagram account in 2017, just started sharing what I was painting every day to keep myself accountable. And I started also sharing all these delightful new discoveries that I was having with watercolors as I was learning and growing with them. And from there is how it just organically started, where people started asking to buy my paintings, and then I created new products and kind of basically just sold everything on Instagram, when it was the glory days of Instagram, where my posts would actually reach my people. And it was honestly going great until Instagram's algorithm, the shift, it just became like the chaotic X that nobody asked for. And things just suddenly shifted. And all of a sudden, literally my own followers who had clicked that follow button were not seeing my posts. They were not seeing my offerings. And it's become even worse now in 2025, when every time I promote something, an offering on my Instagram stories, or if I dare to link something, then Instagram just goes and cuts my reach just so bad. And I've literally had conversations with my ideal clients where they have themselves reached out and asked, "Hey Trupti, like I'm really looking for a business strategist and a mentor to help me, launch my new product. Are you taking on new clients?" And I'm like, I thought I was talking about it all the time on my story. So I have found out that my ideal clients are not seeing my offerings on Instagram. The lesson that I learned from it was that your email list is the one marketing asset that you truly own. So grow it like your life depends on it, at least your business depends on it. Because now, even though people aren't seeing my stuff on Instagram, because I send emails regularly to my list, they read my stories, they get a chance to connect with me and my stories in a much deeper way, and then they see my invitations, and that is why I keep getting sales. That's why we keep selling out of products on Blue Pine Arts, and that is why I consistently get one-on-one clients for Creative Course Launchpad program. So grow your email list with a good lead magnet that you're sharing in your free content on obviously all the social media platforms, but also YouTube, art markets, Pinterest, Facebook, wherever it is that your people are hanging out. Make sure you're sharing that and you're consistently growing your list no matter what and at all times of the year. And make sure that you nurture your email list as if it's your favorite plant baby. If I were to do this all over again, then I would start growing my email list literally back in 2017, when I had committed to my creative practice seriously. My Instagram account, I just started in May that year, and it was exploding because by October that year, I had more than 10,000 followers, and people were asking to buy more of my paintings. They were really interested in buying my 2018 calendars, which sold out. So I would have collected people's names and put them on at least a free account of MailChimp. And that would have been perfect timing, like towards the end of 2017, because in the beginning of 2018, I got invited to teach on Watercolor Summit, where I got exposure to a lot of different people. And that was also the year when I began teaching on Skillshare. I would create juicy lead magnets that made sure that at least most of my 26,808 Skillshare students joined my email fam. And also all of the people who were discovering me through Watercolor Summit and other awesome PR opportunities that I got from that year onwards. I can only imagine the magic and profits that would have happened if I'd had those people join my email list ready to go deeper, both with, connecting with me and also going deeper to get transformed with my offerings in Blue Pine Arts and my online classes. Without a doubt, I've left hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table because I did not start teaching on my own platform sooner. See, I discovered my zest and my passion for teaching pretty early on, and that is the whole reason why just 8 months after I started my Instagram account, I was invited to be one of the guest teachers on Watercolor Summit, which was an incredible honor. Also because I was the only brown woman on, this podium of 7 to 8 teachers who were teaching in this beautiful course that my friend Ashley hosted. And that alone just like lit up a fire in me, and I just knew that in my creative business, along with creating my beautiful Blue Pine Arts handmade paints and papers, I also wanted to go deep into teaching. However, I directed all of my best teaching material during that time on Skillshare and on free Instagram lives. So even though I was comfortable with the $2,000 to like $1,200 that I would get on average from Skillshare at the time, which was, like I said, good money because of the USD to Indian rupees conversions when I was living in India at the time, I basically didn't even know that there was a possibility for me to make even more income by just directing all of those energies, by hosting a course or all of those classes that I was releasing and promoting the whole time on my own platform. Because when the pandemic shut down Blue Pine Arts overnight because we couldn't ship anything out of the country, at that moment when I was so confident that I could depend on my Skillshare revenue now, that was when their executives slashed payments. And if you have been a Skillshare teacher or if you've done any amount of research on it, you know that they've continued to slash teacher payments to the point where now my my own monthly payout is anywhere in the range of like $30 to $50. And it was in that kick in the gut moment in like March, April of 2020 when I realized that I had just gone and given all the control and the revenue of this major stream of income in my business to external platforms and the executives that were running them. And the craziest thing is how passionately I would promote all of my Skillshare classes and send all my people on Instagram, which back then it was more engaged than it is right now. I would send them to Skillshare instead of sending them to my own email list or to my own platform. I needed to stop splitting profits with all these platforms and take full 100% control of my income. So the lesson that I took away from this is teaching on your own platforms means you get to control and have 100% of the revenue and the profits that come from it. And let me tell you a story to prove this. I took 6 of my best performing Skillshare classes out of the, how many do I have? 15 classes on there. And I made a bundle of them called Enchanting Watercolor Landscapes. And last year, I created that bundle product and did the laziest launch to my email list. And I didn't even follow all of the 4-phase system, my own artist launch blueprint, which by the way, if you want to steal my launch blueprint, then I've left that link in the description and you can grab it for free. But I didn't even use that. I didn't even warm people up to this product that I was doing. I did not do the pre-launch content for it. And I just went and I was like, ta-da, here you go. This is a bundle of 6 of my best classes. And that itself made more than $3,000. Whereas collectively, my 15 classes and 26,808 students on Skillshare, my current payouts are like in the range of $30 to $50. So you do the math. If I were to do this all over again, then I would build my own platform after I saw that a couple of my Skillshare classes went really viral and was super successful. Side note, I would choose my platform as System.io and not Kajabi, just because Kajabi's costs have gone up so much now, and also their customer service has fallen. Like, something really weird has been happening since the rebrand, and although I've been a big fan of them in the past, I myself am moving off of Kajabi and onto System.io because it's so much more affordable and you can actually host your first course for free. So I do have an affiliate link for it. You don't have to use it, but if you wanted to, I'll link that in the description as well. And if you want help in setting up this whole thing, then let me know, because Nahush, my amazing husband and my tech guy and my CFO, he is the one who sets up the entire platform for all of our artist clients when we help them launch their courses, and he can help you out as well. So feel free to reach out. This is the worst thing that I could have done in my great 2020 burnout. See, once I realized that it was so important for me to teach on my own platform, I just sort of like dove headfirst into it. But instead of easing into this new journey by teaching a small course first, preferably on beginner watercolor techniques or just watercolor landscapes intro or something like that, just a mini course that would have helped me create the course curriculum and film it and deliver it sooner, but also it would have like given me the time and space to embrace the learning curve that comes with setting up your own platform and all the back-end tech setup and learning how to market, learning how to build your product, that whole thing. But because I didn't know this nuance, I went and created the most complex product that I could have created, which is a membership. Now, that was a mistake because a membership takes continual commitment because it has no end in sight. Like, once it begins, it just keeps going on month, year on year, and you have to show up and create monthly classes and other ancillary monthly content, and you need to like support your students too in the community that you've created. And that was a lot on my nervous system, while also learning how to manage my own platform and looking for a new team member and learning how to delegate my tasks with this new level of business that I had reached. So, lesson from I learned from this is to start simple. A mini course or a masterclass is going to be your best friend when you're just starting out to host your own online teaching offerings on your own platform. And this is what I tell all of my artist clients as well who come to work with me, and they have these grand ideas of launching a huge, their signature immersive course or a continually running membership. And I don't tell them to not do it, because when I mentor creatives, it's always the CFO creatives in the driver's seat, and I'm just there sort of guiding them and then letting them make the ultimate decision, because it's obviously like when you work with me, it's your creative business, so you're the one who's going to be making the final call. But I always caution them and tell them that you can always create your bigger, more complicated offerings later that also requires more of your time commitment. But with a mini course, it is a really short and complete transformation that you're giving your students. It's easier to map out that course curriculum. It's easier to film, edit, and upload, while also learning how to build your platform, setting up the whole tech behind the scenes, and also learning how to keep growing your email list and selling on the front end. So you have to sort of like balance both of these things. So start with a mini course and keep it simple. If I were to do this all over again, I'd have launched a smaller beginner watercolor course, like I said. And once I knew how to sell it on autopilot without frying my nervous system, then I would introduce my membership as the back end offer to that, which would then be the next natural step for all of the people who are going through the course and wondering, okay, how do I get more? How do I get deeper into the community? And how do I go farther into my growth as a watercolor artist? Okay, this one stinks because it was the most recent one and was also one of the hardest lessons that I've learned as a business owner. Here goes. In June 2022, when I first moved from India to Canada, at the time, my online classes and Blue Pine Arts products were thriving. And we were also at peak profits because of some affiliate launches I was doing with some of the courses that I had taken from my mentors that had personally changed my life inside out. So what did I do? I pivoted hard into teaching holistic manifestation. Because why not complicate life in a new country, right? Spoiler alert, it was not my brightest move. The lesson that I learned from this is that not all your brilliant ideas need to happen right now. I know, we live in a culture where everybody talks big things about, if this idea has been sitting in your mind, then get moving and get it out there into the world. But there is also such a thing as timing. And if your life is in a season of chaos, like mine was when I freaking moved countries with just 4 suitcases of my belongings between me and my husband, with my cats who were about to fly in, and I still didn't know and hadn't found my footing as an artist here in Canada, and hadn't really figured out or even kind of sat intentionally to think, what would I like my new life over here to look like? I was just too excited by the blank slate that I had and the fresh start that I was getting. And I didn't sort of sit and think, what would I need in terms of stability right now? And then set up that foundation, then gone on to create my beautiful, powerful, practical manifestation course. So really, when there's a big change that's happening in your life right now, doubling down on what's already working is a lot of the times the smartest thing to do in your business. And this sort of goes against the advice that most creatives are given, to just follow your inspiration and just do things spontaneously. But you do have to realize that when you're running a business, and in my case, this is like a sole bread earner here in a new life, right? So sometimes holding back on your idea a little bit is not necessarily a bad thing. So if I were to do this all over again, I would have surveyed my audience and created a hyper-specific watercolor course that solved a problem for beginners especially, while also focusing slowly on moving Blue Pine Arts from Shopify India to Shopify Canada, which was one of the major problems that we were having. Story for another video, but we did end up doing that, and that was also one of the primary reasons why we moved to Canada too. And I would have focused on these two projects first, because this would have taken something that was already working in my business and it would have just supercharged it. It would have made the foundation of my new life here more stable. So as much as I loved my powerful practical manifestation course and the 95 students that it's helped so far, it was too much to build out while also settling into a new country and finding a footing here. And this messed up the revenue from my online classes. Because you know what? I could have actually also figured out how to keep my watercolor membership running, because most of it was like a nightmare because it was set up with Indian payment systems, and that's majorly what burnt me out. But I could have found a way to transition it from like a never-ending membership to a time-bound container. It's a tip that I shared in one of my previous videos, and when I shared with you what would I do differently if I had launched my membership again. So I would have found a way to transition into like this time-bound membership so that I would have continued to get the recurring revenue that, oh God, honestly would have helped so much as we were building up a new life here. This is like the biggest brain fart that my brain has ever farted. And I don't even know why my brain glitched this way. We'll never know until the glitch just sort of like resolved in 2024. But for the longest time, literally since 2018, I kept my Blue Pine Arts products and my online classes and courses that I was teaching living separate lives, like as if they were like a couple in a bad rom-com. I used to feel this separation between these two parts of my business all the time, and I constantly used to have this internal struggle on like, oh, how do I balance both of these things? How do I balance launching my physical products and launching my online courses? And this internal separation, it not only did it cost me some serious coin, but it also just created just this unnecessary fragmentation within myself, within my offerings, and it just created a lot of needless suffering, I think. Because when you really think about it, the curious creatives who value high quality handcrafted tools that are made with heritage practices and heritage fabrics, like our handmade paints and sketchbooks and Blue Pine Arts, some of these people would obviously be interested in learning how to paint with watercolors better in a more enjoyable way, which means they are also my ideal students for all of my watercolor classes and my retreats. So the lesson that I learned from this is if you've got physical products that complement your online teaching offerings, then marry them ASAP. Even if you don't have your own products, if you're like an affiliate for other products, but yeah, no matter whose products you're using, create supply lists packed with your product recommendations. Add your pro tips to use those products and create it as a lead magnet, which then, it has a double whammy effect. It grows your email list and it also lets those passive sales rolling in while you're sleeping. So you're double dipping into success, baby. If I were to do this all over again, then I would create hyper specific supply lists for all of my online courses because anyway, I use my Blue Pine Arts products when I'm teaching them because I use my own products when I'm painting. And I would list out every brush, every color, every sort of paper that I used. And obviously, I'd also include the non-Blue Pine Art products, which there are plenty that I use. I would probably sign up to an art store's affiliate system like Jackson's or Blix. That way, every online class purchase that would happen on my website could turn into extra passive sales for Blue Pine Arts without me having to do separate launches for Blue Pine Arts all the time. So this is what they mean when they say work smarter, not harder. So there you go. These have been my top 5 creative business mistakes. Not starting my email list soon enough, not teaching on my own platform sooner, launching a membership as my very first digital product, pivoting too quickly to new ideas and new courses, and not connecting my beautiful art supply products and my watercolor courses sooner. Which of these mistakes hit home? If any of these sounded familiar and you're sort of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm making at least one of them right now in my business, first things first, please don't feel bad. There's no point in beating yourself up because mistakes are not failures. They're just awkward little stepping stones to greatness. Just this morning, I was talking to my business bestie because she came for a sleepover and I was telling her all these mistakes, right? Oh, I pivoted into teaching manifestation too fast. I should have figured out how to make my membership run here in Canada instead of shutting it down too quickly the way that I did, and this and that. She said, you know what, Trupti, when you look at the bigger picture, what is the purpose of your life? You come here as an eternal being that takes a human form, and you come here to evolve and grow as a soul. And I know I'm going into a little bit of a woo-woo, but it is so important for us to really zoom out as creative business owners because we get so close to the picture, with our nose to the grindstone. And she said, the whole point is to grow and evolve and to learn the lessons that you came here to learn. And the only way that you're going to learn all these things is by making mistakes because there are very few lessons to learn when you have huge successes, but you learn the best lessons that are going to serve you for a long, long time by making the mistakes, or rather the missteps that you take in your journey. So remember this. Just know that you are allowed to have your share of missteps because these 5 mistakes that I made, they were not the only 5 mistakes. There were a lot more mistakes other than that. And I'm likely probably going to make a couple more mistakes as well. But I need to give myself a lot of compassion and grace and love because I can't avoid the mistakes, right? Nobody ever just learns everything and then just has 100% success rate. The real magic lies in learning from them and leveling up. Now that you've seen the biggest mistakes I've made, you'll want to know how to build a system that avoids all of these mistakes. Watch this video next where I share my step-by-step strategy behind my first $10,000 membership launch. And it'll show you exactly how to grow and work smarter and not harder. Okay. So if you've ever felt like you've been spinning your wheels or you feel like one wrong move might tank your business, then I want you to stick till the end of this video. Oh wait, you came here as an eternal being, you came from infinity on this short, really short